and welcome to all the viewers. You are watching Learn English with Amjad, and today in this video we are going to talk about lexical verbs and auxiliary verbs. As we have studied what the verb is all about in our previous videos, you can visit those videos from playlist, and you can also get all the videos in a proper sequence so as to you can learn English grammar easily. So now let's talk about lexical and auxiliary verbs. So now you can see the definition here about the lexical verbs. So lexical verbs are the main verbs. So this is the point of a sentence. As we know, in a sentence we need a verb like subject, verb and object. We need these three things to make a complete sentence usually. So in a sentence we have to use at least one main verb. So now the lexical verbs are basically the main verbs. So now what they describe actions instead of being something. So now when we are talking about lexical verbs, so lexical verbs, they could be action or could be used as the instead of being something. So this is the point that you need to remember about the lexical verbs. Another point, lexical verbs are essential to the meaning of the sentence. As I have already mentioned that the lexical verbs, what we call the main verb, it is the main part of the sentence. It gives complete meaning to the sentence because we know in a sentence we have to use at least one main verb for this. So now let's talk about few examples. Drink, run, is, was. So these are the examples of the lexical verbs. So now we have studied the lexical verbs could be action or it could be state verbs. So now let's talk about that how could be the action verbs and the state verbs used as the lexical verbs. Let's talk about the action verbs. Now you can see they watch movie. So now in this sentence, watch, it is a lexical verb because it is action verb. As we have discussed that all the action verbs are lexical verbs. So this is the main verb in a sentence. Another example you can see, children fly kites. So fly, it is the action. Here we are performing a physically work. That's why we can call it is an action verb. So this is how can we use action verbs. So all action verbs are lexical verbs. So now how can we use these state verbs? You can see the example, I am a doctor. So in this example, am, it is the state verb and this is used here as a main verb of the sentence. That's why we can call it is lexical verb. Another example you can see, they are tall boys. So are, it is lexical verb in this sentence. So this is how we can use lexical as an action verb and state verb. So now let's talk about auxiliary verbs. So auxiliary verbs are the helping verbs. You can see the definition here. This is the point. The auxiliary verbs are the helping verbs of the sentence. So it is opposite of the lexical. We have studied the lexical verb. There are the main verbs in a sentence, but we know there are a few verbs in a sentence that helps the main verb. So all the verbs that used as the helping verb we can call these are auxiliaries. So what they do, they gives more meaning to the main verb. When you are talking about helping verb gives more meaning to the main verb. That's why we can call auxiliary verbs. So auxiliary verbs are used for their grammatically effect, as these verbs cannot stand alone. So you have to keep in this in your mind that when you are talking about auxiliary verbs, you cannot use auxiliary verbs alone in a sentence because they will not have a particular meaning to the sentence. But these are the auxiliary verbs that are used for the grammatical effect. With the auxiliary verbs, you can identify whether it is present tense, past tense, or the future tense, or which kind of helping verb you have to use with different subjects or the pronouns and all the grammatical things. These are basically auxiliary verbs used for the grammatical effect. So now let's see few examples of the auxiliary. Is, am, are, was, have. So these are all the helping verb. We can call it as auxiliary verbs. So now auxiliary verbs can be used as the helping verbs, you can see here, as well as modal verb. Let's talk about that, how can we use as a helping. So now in this sentence, he is watching movie. So is here, it is auxiliary verb because it is helping verb which is helping the main verb in this sentence, which is watching. So watching, it is a main verb. We can say it is lexical verb. It is helping verb because it is helping the main verb. So we can say it is auxiliary verbs which is used here as a helping verb. So another example, you can see children are flying kites. So here are, it is helping verb which is helping the main verb which is flying in this sentence. So flying, it is the main verb, and are, it is used for grammatical effect. We can identify this is the present tense because there is a are. So are, it is used here is the helping verb, so we can call as auxiliary verbs. So now let's talk about that auxiliary verbs can be used as modal verbs. These are the few examples of modal verbs: can, could, may, might. So the modal verb, basically what they do, the modal verb we use to talk about the possibility, the probability, or when you are using modal verbs for request as well as giving offers. So for that particular reasons you use different modal verbs. So on modal verbs we are going to talk about in our next video in a detail, one by one. But in this, let's talk about in short a few examples. You can see they can win race. So can, it is used here as a modal verb in the sentence, while when we know it is lexical verb because it is action verb. So all the actions we have studied are lexical verbs. So can, it is used as modal verb in this sentence to show the ability. Another example, you can see you should learn English. So here should, it is used as a modal verb for advice, and we know all the modal verbs are auxiliary verbs. So this is the difference when you are talking about lexical and auxiliary verbs. So in auxiliary verbs we have studied that this could be used as the helping verb, and auxiliary verbs we can use as a modal verb as well as. So now you have let's talk about something here. So now verbs like be, have, do can be both lexical as well as auxiliary. So these are the three verbs that you can use as well as lexical and auxiliary in both cases. So now let's see few examples. The first, it is I am going to Karachi. So in this sentence, am here, it is used as a helping verb which is helping the main verb in this sentence, which is going. It is an action, so we can say it is main verb or lexical verb. So am, it is used here as a helping verb, so we can say it is auxiliary verb. Another example, I am a teacher. So in this sentence you can see there is no action, but it is showing the state of being something. For that we know we have to use be verb, which is here. You can see am, it is a form of be verb. So here am, it is used as lexical verb. Another example, you can see they have vast flow. So here have, it is used as a helping verb which is helping the main verb wash, so we can say it is auxiliary. And here they have two cars. So here have is used to show the position, and for that we can say it is lexical verb. So you can see the difference. When we are talking about auxiliary verbs, you have to use main verb with it. When you are talking about lexical verbs, there would not be any kind of helping verb, you can see here. Let's talk about the last example. She does not beat him. So here does, it is used here to talk about the main verb. Does, in this sentence we have used here as a negative sentence. So all the helping verbs that we use for making negative or interrogative sentences, we call the helping verb, or we can say auxiliary verb. Another example, you can see she does her homework. So in this sentence, does, it is used here as a lexical verb in this sentence. So now I think it's enough for today. You have got all the things, but if still you have got the confusion, you can ask the question in a comment box. So until the next time, do subscribe. It's goodbye.